So, this section that we're reading today is going to continue on the theme of the special love relationship. And this passage that we read before is that the special love relationship splits the mind to from the inside and the outside of the mind are split along the lines that the special love relationship draws. And as a result, it forces into the subconscious mind some unresolved issues, which they label here as hate, a very strong word. And the Course says that if we're to heal, it's essential to bring these unresolved issues out of the dark and into the sight. And it encourages us to make no attempt to hide these unresolved issues that are in the shadows of our subconscious mind. So that serves as the introduction to the section we'll cover today, the bridge to the real world. As many of you know, this metaphor of a bridge that bridges over the gap between our two selves, our false self system and our true eternal self. Well, how do we transition from identification with the false self to identification with the true self? We do so by the bridge. It crosses the gap, the illusory gap that seems to be between our two selves. Hello and welcome to Miracles on High Plains. My name is Jonica, and our reader for today is David.
The search for the special relationship is the sign that you equate yourself with the ego and not with God. For the special relationship has value only to the ego. To the ego, unless a relationship has special value, it has no meaning, for it perceives all love as special. Yet this cannot be natural, for it is unlike the relationship of God and his Son, and all relationships that are unlike this one must be unnatural. For God created love as he would have it be, and gave it as it is. Love has no meaning except as its creator defined it by his will. It is impossible to define it otherwise and understand it. Love is freedom. To look for it by placing yourself in bondage is to separate yourself from it. For the love of God no longer seek for union in separation, nor for freedom in bondage. As you release, so will you be released. Forget this not, or love will be unable to find you and comfort you.
Mm-hmm. So, as we've seen before, the overriding question is, what is the meaning of love? What is love really? And the response we get from the Course of Miracles is love has the meaning that God gives to it, for God is the creator of love. Therefore, love has the impact, the attributes that he gave to it. And that any other different view of love has no meaning. Although it's impossible to define love otherwise and understand it. So herein is the issue. In our world at broad, attempts to define love in its own manner, its own way, separate and apart from the way that God defined the meaning that God gives to love. And this is a bigger issue than you might think. So the stipulation here is that unconsciously, you and I have tried to define love our own way. We have tried not knowing, this is seeing through a glass darkly and confusion. We have, in our own manner, constructed our own private concept of what love means. And much of that is shared out in society at large. It appears in songs and movies and novels and all around us. The shared meaning of love, which is not the same as the one that God gives it. And so, in so doing that, we separate ourselves from love as God understands it, and instead we equate ourselves with the ego and not with God. So to speak, we say in our interior world, I'll decide what love is. Love will be whatever I decide it to be. And that is pure ego. That's what ego does. It thinks that it understands these things. And so the special love relationship is merely an extension of that. It stems from just the ego deciding what love means and then seeking to express that outwardly with another person. This, of course, carries us in a certain direction, which again is perfectly fine with the ego, but to the spirit, this would be a form of bondage. It would be a form of believing that love conforms to your own illusions. And in pursuing what you think is love, you're actually pursuing your own illusions. And so the way, well, what are we to do about that? We need to be released from our illusions, from our beliefs. And as we are released, we can help to release others, and we can help to bring freedom. Remember, love is freedom, help to bring freedom to the minds of others. But first, we have to be willing to recognize our own mistakes and surrender them into the hands of the Holy Spirit. Then that leaves us, so to speak, free and open to learn from Spirit the true meaning of love. All right, we'll go on.
There is a way in which the Holy Spirit asks your help if you would have his. The holy instant is his most helpful aid in protecting you from the attraction of guilt, the real lure in the special relationship. You do not recognize that this is its real appeal, for the ego has taught you that freedom lies in it. Yet the closer you look at the special relationship, the more apparent it becomes that it must foster guilt and therefore must imprison. The special relationship is totally meaningless without a body. If you value it, you must also value the body. And what you value, you will keep. The special relationship is a device for limiting yourself to a body and for limiting your perception of others to theirs. The great rays would establish the total lack of value of the special relationship if they were seen. For in seeing them, the body would disappear because its value would be lost. And so your whole investment in seeing it would be withdrawn from it.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting, this first line. The Holy Spirit asks for your help. Holy Spirit wants your help if you would have the Holy Spirit's help, because it's a giving and receiving relationship with the Holy Spirit. And that, what form does that help take? It takes the form of offering us an alternative to the holy, an alternative to the special love relationship. And the alternative the Holy Spirit offers is the holy instant. This is one of the key points of this section. Whenever you find yourself occupied by a special love relationship, and usually the fantasies that go on with that, it includes dwelling upon the past as if it was in the present, or dwelling upon an imagined future as if it is in the present. Whenever you find your mind drifting into those areas, what the Holy Spirit suggests is that you ask for the Holy Spirit's help by having a holy instant, a shared instant of insight and clarity. We'll come back to that as we read on. And that is intended to bring a healing moment to your awareness. It's intended to substitute from your wanting an illusion to be true, to be real, and allowing you to let go of that and instead substitute the holy instant as your reality. And all this really comes down to what is it that you value? What is it that you really want? Meaning, do you want fantasies? Do you want to dwell in the past as if they're still happening? Or do you want to dwell in imagined futures as if they are real? Or do you want to be in the living present, in the eternal now? It's a choice. And once you've decided what it is that you want, what direction you want to be heading, then the rest is training your mind to be vigilant for that choice so that you're consistent. And the result of that choice of choosing the holy instant instead of the special love relationship is increasingly the body then shifts from a very prominent central position in your perceptions, and it diminishes just to be what it is. It's a piece of flesh and blood, a temporary vehicle for biological life, and really nothing more than that. And in its place takes on the awareness of the inner light that is both within you and within everyone else. So the body, it says it would disappear. I would translate that as its value to you would diminish and disappears to the point where the body is no longer the central focus of your value system. Its value would be lost, and therefore your whole investment in seeing the body as a source of identity would be withdrawn, and in its place, the inner light would become the central focus of your attention, of your perception, of your investment of faith and belief. Many of these ideas we've encountered before. This is somewhat of a review.
You see the world you value. On this side of the bridge, you see the world of separate bodies, seeking to join each other in separate unions and to become one by losing. When two individuals seek to become one, they are trying to decrease their magnitude. Each would deny his power, for the separate union excludes the universe. Far more is left outside than would be taken in. for God is left without and nothing taken in. If one such union were made in perfect faith, the universe would enter into it. Yet the special relationship the ego seeks does not include even one whole individual. The ego wants but part of him and sees only this part and nothing else.
Mhm. So it frames the choice of how we encounter another as being of one of two different natures. In the holy relationship, the entire creation is symbolized in that encounter. You are encountering another being who carries the same light of creation as you encounter. And so this is a miraculous expression of creation. It's symbolic of the creation of light itself. And therefore, all the properties of creation are available within that holy instant, that holy encounter. The alternative in the special love relationship is viewed as more as an exclusionary encounter where you have your encounter with the other person, so to speak, all to yourself, where you, quote, join with that person in a way that a third or fourth person would become interference, because the whole intent is the ego wants to have for itself this illusion of joining with just someone special, one other. And so we can see this is the bigger picture here. What would you join with? Would you join with one other, or would you join with all of creation? In separation, the union excludes the universe, and far more is left outside than would be taken in. But in a true union, the universe enters into it.
Across the bridge it is so different. For a time, the body is still seen, but not exclusively, as it is seen here. The little spark that holds the great rays within it is also visible, and this spark cannot be limited long to littleness. Once you have crossed the bridge, the value of the body is so diminished in your sight that you will see no need at all to magnify it, for you will realize that the only value the body has is to enable you to bring your brothers to the bridge with you and to be released together there.
Mm-hmm. So this illustrates the bridge metaphor in the Course in Miracles, and we can learn a number of things about it because we're talking about crossing to the other side where we are identified with the divine self rather than with our earthly separate self. It is so, as it says here, it is so different. And it does refer to that crossing over as an experience where we still have a body, but it's no longer seen in the light that it was before. Before it was, the body was seen as the focal point of our identity. Here, it's seen as a temporary vehicle that is identified with an inner light, an inner spark, the great rays, and that basically a transformation has occurred when we cross the bridge, which is a shift from the false perception of the ego, a perception of littleness and guilt, to shifting to the other side to a true perception of our eternal self, which is then illuminated by the light within ourselves and the recognition of that light being in everyone else. And then the body serves a new function. This is where the body becomes holy. The body, the only value the body has is enable you to help your brothers, to bring your brothers to the bridge with you, and to be released together. That's when the body takes on a holy purpose, a holy function, one given, directed by the Holy Spirit. And this is where miracles are happening all the time by serving this holy function. But in order to do so, in order to experience this, we cannot be mixing multiple masters or multiple plans at once. It has to be a devotion to the plan of the Holy Spirit, not just a partial agreement or a part-time agreement. It's a full-time identification with your true self and with the plans of the Holy Spirit. And then we bring our brothers to the bridge and are released together there. Any comments or questions on any of that?
The bridge itself is nothing more than a transition in the perspective of reality. On this side, everything you see is grossly distorted and completely out of perspective. What is little and insignificant is magnified, and what is strong and powerful cut down to littleness. In the transition, there is a period of confusion in which a sense of actual disorientation may occur, but fear it not, for it means only that you have been willing to let go your hold on the distorted frame of reference that seemed to hold your world together. This frame of reference is built around the special relationship. Without this illusion, there could be no meaning you would still seek here.
So it indicates the possibility for a disorientation, and it makes perfect sense. If one has spent a lifetime in thinking of themselves as a body-based person, as a person whose entire identity is centered and defined in flesh and blood, then to release that frame of reference, that frame of identity, and allow an alternative identity structure, an alternative frame of reference of light and healing and serving the function of the Holy Spirit, that's a big shift psychologically, emotionally, the way you see your values, the way you utilize your time, your motivations, all shift. And so there can be a period of confusion, an actual disorientation might occur, but this is only an indication that you're no longer bounded to body sense of identity whose termination is inevitable. It's inevitable that our identification with the human body will terminate at some point. And so in many ways, this symbolizes a shift from a temporary frame of reference to an eternal frame of reference. The great rays and the inner light are an eternal light. That frame of reference is one that we keep forever. Um, yeah, go on.
Fear not that you will be abruptly lifted up and hurled into reality. Time is kind, and if you use it on behalf of reality, it will keep gentle pace with you in your transition. The urgency is only in dislodging your mind from its fixed position here. This will not leave you homeless and without a frame of reference. The period of disorientation, which precedes the actual transition, is far shorter than the time it took to fix your mind so firmly on illusions. Delay will hurt you now more than before, only because you realize it is delay and that escape from pain is really possible. Find hope and comfort rather than despair in this. You could not long find even the illusion of love in any special relationship here, for you are no longer wholly insane, and you would soon recognize the guilt of self-betrayal for what it is.
Mm-hmm. So, as we know, removing the barriers to the awareness of love's presence is the goal of this course. The urgency is only in dislodging your mind from a fixed, rigid, crystallized, hardened view of your identity as being in the body. The urgency is to loosen that up and let it go. And know that in any possible disorientation as you transition from that to one of a light-centered identity, that I love this line, time is kind if you use it on behalf of reality. It will guide you gently. Time is kind if you use it on behalf of reality. The opposite is also true, that if you use time on behalf of illusions, then it will hurt you. Delay will hurt you now more than before because you realize it is delay. And I heard someone say something this week that really caught my attention. I'm going to paraphrase what she said. She said, regarding choosing between guilt and innocence, that I'll always try to choose for innocence because, and this is the part that got my attention, because I pay a terrible inner price when I don't. I pay a terrible inner price by making poor choices, by choosing guilt instead of innocence. And I think that's echoed right here. How does delay hurt you? It hurts on the inside in that you let yourself down because you realize it's delay and that you can be free, but by making poor choices, you choose to remain behind. Susie?
I find this paragraph amazing and so true, the big T, because there is a period of disorientation, right? And I remember that. But there is a lot of hope and comfort for me now when I slip, start traveling or slip away or attach myself to, illusions or whatever, because I know that there's I know what to do, and I know that the healing is possible, and I know I'm no longer wholly insane. It's really, really amazing. And I can see now that all I have to do is be honest with myself and what is occurring in my mind, because there's no cause outside of my mind and my thoughts, none, and just turn to the Holy Spirit and ask for help. And I don't always say now, like, I don't want this thought. I say, how would you repurpose this thought? Or how would you use this thought? Or how would you have me see the situation? Because if I've judged it already, then I'm not giving the Holy Spirit the opportunity to let me see what I might not see because of my false perception, if that makes sense.
Good catch.
Yeah. So, time is kind if I use it on behalf of reality and not Susie's reality. I just love this. I just love this paragraph. I really do. I think it says so much. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. And, especially that I'm no longer wholly insane. And how wonderful is that because of this course?
Yeah.
That's all.
It is. Thank you, Susie.
And I just want to say, yeah, none of us are abruptly lifted into reality. That would be too scary for us. The Holy Spirit leads us gently, wherever we are, meets us where we're at. Anyway, yeah, that's all.
Thank you. So pay attention to this idea that choosing to leave yourself behind, which we'll refer to as delay will hurt you because you're delaying your own progress towards healing and wholeness. You're essentially choosing to live in the past and keep repeating the past mistakes. And so the urgency is only in dislodging your past identification with littleness from your mind. Once you choose to let go of that identification, Holy Spirit understands the plan for healing for all the rest. Oh, I'm sorry. Heather, you had your hand.
Yeah, I just really like that line. It says, this will not leave you homeless. And I just love the idea of leaving the ego homeless. That just is a very funny thought to me.
Well, it is. And I want to illustrate a little bit about what Heather's referring to, because from a point of view of littleness, the ego has been our home for so long. It's been our sense of self, false sense of self. We've identified and invested with it and attempted to make a permanent home out of our identity with the ego and live according to its laws. And so the idea of losing all that is the illusion of becoming homeless. When actually, I'm going to make this up as we go, it's more like leaving a house that's on fire. It's more like who would want to stay if the home is on fire? It was never intended to be a permanent home. This is why we say dislodge your mind from its fixed position here. It was never intended that the body would be your permanent identity. Although people seeking the fountain of youth would have you lead you to believe that they're going to try. Okay, we'll go on.
Nothing you seek to strengthen in the special relationship is really part of you. And you cannot keep part of the thought system that taught you it was real and understand the thought that knows what you are. You have allowed the thought of your reality to enter your mind. And because you invited it, it will abide with you. Your love for it will not allow you to betray yourself, and you could not enter into a relationship where it could not go with you, for you would not want to be apart from it. Be glad you have escaped the mockery of salvation the ego offered you, and look not back with longing on the travesty it made of your relationships. Now no one needs suffer, for you have come too far to yield to the illusion of the beauty and holiness of guilt. Only the wholly insane could look on death and suffering, sickness and despair, and see it thus. What guilt has wrought is ugly, fearful, and very dangerous. See no illusion of truth and beauty there. And be you thankful that there is a place where truth and beauty wait for you. Go on to meet them gladly and learn how much awaits you for the simple willingness to give up nothing because it is nothing.
So we're still in this paragraph, still speaking in reference to what we mentioned a moment ago about the choice to delay and remain stuck in your fixed position of your false identity with the ego and its laws for living. And it refers to that as a form of betraying yourself. It's here somewhere. It would not allow you to betray yourself, because the thought of God, the thought of your true self, is in your mind. And at some level, you know that and recognize that. And the entire healing journey is a one of turning your attention towards that thought of light and away from the thought of littleness or the thought of darkness. And yet it's disorienting to let go of what you thought you were most of your life. In some ways, and this is seen in addiction therapy quite a bit, sticking with old habits is staying with what's familiar. This is what causes people to relapse again and again and again. They go back, they wind up betraying themselves and thus hurting themselves. And so what the Course would encourage us, that no one needs suffer. We've come too far to yield to illusions, and that to openly choose to continue to suffer is a form of insanity. And ultimately, we will all realize that what we're letting go of, the fixed reference frame of identification with the ego and its laws of living, is really nothing. It's a simple willingness to give up nothing, worthlessness, because it is nothing. This is not meant to be a criticism of anyone's financial challenges, but it reminds me a little bit about when you see someone who's homeless and they have a shopping cart full of the only things they have in the world. Bags and collections of probably something that none of you would have anything to do with. But to that person, they're hanging on to what little they have, not realizing that it's worth nothing. And so I'm speaking symbolically here, not with reference to any person or any condition. Ultimately, we have to realize that we're pulling along our shopping cart full of nothing, and realize happiness is not going to be found by keeping that shopping cart full of nothing, nor by adding more nothingness to the cart.
The new perspective you will gain from crossing over will be the understanding of where heaven is. From this side, it seems to be outside and across the bridge. Yet as you cross to join it, it will join with you and become one with you. And you will think in glad astonishment that for all this you gave up nothing. The joy of heaven, which has no limit, is increased with each light that returns to take its rightful place within it. Wait no longer for the love of God and you, and may the holy instant speed you on the way, as it will surely do if you but let it come to you.
So I might be guilty of overblowing my metaphor here, but from this side of the bridge, your shopping cart full of past memories and fixed beliefs about what love is and how you're going to be happy in the lulls of this world. The alternative seems far away, at a distance. This distance across the bridge seems to be more than you can manage. And it's true, you can't manage this journey by yourself. You need the Holy Spirit's guidance. But as you cross the bridge, leaving your shopping cart behind, you realize that what awaits you is your true self. It's where you find your the identity of what you always have been and always will be. You become one with your divine self, and you will think to yourself that for all of this, I was holding up onto nothing. I was delaying in the belief that my nothingness was worthwhile. It's a shift. This is why we call it a shift in your frame of reference. Your perceptual system shifts from one of littleness to one of magnitude. And of course, with magnitude comes all these other attributes: the joy of heaven, the light that returns, the freedom from bondage and delay, the love of God, the meaning of love comes to you, the holy instant comes to you, and your ability to live in that and also to share that with others all open up. Heather?
Yeah, I love this idea of the shopping cart, person. It reminds me of, what the whole program of recovery is for. Is you come in with your shabby self-concept, and then you can see people that are living on the other side of the bridge. You can see the great rays, and it gives you hope. So I like that image, and I like that that we have the privilege of standing in the light and bringing the light to our brothers that are standing on their side of the bridge in their shabby self-concept.
Yeah, I like it too, Heather. And for one reason, we realize we too have our own shopping carts. They may not exist on the physical world. Sometimes they do, like storage lockers full of stuff that I haven't used for 10 years. But really, the more part that we're more in bondage to is the cart we keep in our mind of the past and our identity with the past and the system of value structures that we had set up in our mind based on littleness and a sense of lacking love. That's our shopping cart. David W., you had your hand up.
Yeah, I like how you've explained that, Jonica. For me, the bridge is really just letting go of that card. And every time I do it, as Susie said, it just gets easier because wow, I didn't it and it becomes, I like to think of it when when I just do it so many times, you have that experience of wow, I feel great. I just had to do that. And so it almost becomes, like Susie said, it's almost like it's automatic. It's like my bridge for me turns into a water slide. I just go, oh wow, it worked. I just have to do that. I just have to turn to HS, and so I just love that image. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Susie?
Yeah, I just want to add that, I've had moments of peace, right? Or joy or a holy instant. And I realize in those moments, I've given up nothing. The rewards of giving up my self concept and being helped by the Holy Spirit, wow, I just experienced like freedom. And then, so that's why I commented on the paragraph, a couple of paragraphs before, like, have no despair, because I know it's there. Oh, that's a poem. I know it's possible. I know that's possible. I wish I could stay there all the time, but so far I can't, but I know it's possible to get there. And that is the trust and the faith. And now I have trust and faith, actually, because I've had a practical experience.
Right.
And when so yeah, I don't want to delay. I want to kind of call myself out on everything because I don't want that I just realize that it's all made up. Not my fault, domestication, whatever, but there's something so much better on the other side. So yeah, it's a lot of joy there.
Thank you. So much better. Heather?
I just love what Susie said. When she said that, I realized the pain is in the delay. That's where the pain comes in.
Yes, exactly. It's a form of betraying your higher self in order to stew in your old self a little longer. It's now, having said all that, I've caught myself so many times doing that because it makes no sense, but it's just an ego thought that I wind up entertaining and believing for a moment that that's who I am. And so this is where mind training comes in. Susie said she's not able to do it all the time. This is where vigilance, the third lesson of the Holy Spirit is be vigilant only for God and his kingdom. This is, it's a training of the mind to not revert to old self-destructive delaying patterns.
The Holy Spirit asks only this little help of you. Whenever your thoughts wander to a special relationship which still attracts you, enter with him into a holy instant, and there let him release you. He needs only your willingness to share his perspective, to give it to you completely. And your willingness need not be complete, because his is perfect. It is his task to atone for your unwillingness by his perfect faith. And it is his faith you share with him there. Out of your recognition of your unwillingness for your release, his perfect willingness is given you. Call upon him, for heaven is at his call, and let him call on heaven for you.
I love that last line. Call on him and let him call on heaven for you. So this last paragraph is how do you practice this? How do you apply this to your own life? And I'll say in the next day, certainly over the next week. And that is whenever your thoughts wander into believing that a special relationship is going to be the thing that makes you happy and feel complete, and that whole drama that it's the intoxicating drama, then call on the Holy Spirit and ask to enter in to a holy instant with the Holy Spirit. And once you do that, the Holy Spirit knows the formula, knows the pattern, knows that you are attached to your shopping cart. And you, for a long time, thought that that's where value lies, is with your shopping cart full of possessions. And so all you really need is your willingness need not be complete. Your little willingness is matched or paired with the Holy Spirit's mighty willingness. So he needs only your willingness to turn towards Spirit and ask. And his perfect willingness will be paired with yours. He knows he will atone for your unwillingness. So you don't have to be a master of this process. Just a little willingness, a little indication, and the most important part in all that is to remember to call on the Holy Spirit and trust that once you do that, all the ingredients are made available for you to have a holy instant of release. David, you had your hand up. You muted. Muted. Let me help you here.
I got it.
There you go.
This whole concept of this willingness and unwillingness was really highlighted this morning in my AA meeting. And I know there are a lot of people on this in this group that do have a connection with 12 steps and everything. And a gentleman was talking today about the fact that he had had 8 years of sobriety at one time, and then he had had another period of sobriety. But each time he went back and used again, and a number of people talked about it. And what happens is that his resistance and what kept him in his addiction and in his small self and in his ego-driven addiction was his unwillingness to turn his life over to a power greater than himself, or to have the conception of a power greater than himself. And this is a tremendous commonality in people that come into, I'm just going to talk about Alcoholics Anonymous, and how this concept of turning our lives over to a higher power and being restored to sanity through a higher power, this whole notion of an invisible higher power is so antithetical to the ego, that's so resistant by the ego. And it's the ego that keeps us trapped in addiction. It's the ego that says, I can do this. It's the ego that says, I don't need anybody else's help. It's the ego that wants to keep us trapped in that confusion and enigma about how do I get out of this? And it's only by suddenly becoming defeated. You know, we talk about the gift of desperation, G-O-D, the gift of desperation, when we actually turn to God as we understand him, turn to what it talks about in the Course, that to our Father, and really say, I cannot do it. I need your help, and I'm willing to invite you to help me. That's all that's necessary. You don't have to believe 100%, but you have to just be so beaten down. Your ego has to be so beaten that you're willing to open it up ever so slightly to the light. And that's all that's necessary. And once that light enters, it can only expand. And it's a beautiful way that this paragraph talks about it and that this chapter talks about it. You know, every relationship is a special relationship when God is involved. That's it.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for your kind words. That's as far as we're going to read today. Good luck on leaving your shopping cart behind this week. Know that you always have a choice to make, and that it's really a delight to be on the other side, free of that sense of identity. Thank you all for your time and attention. Raymond, it was really great to have you here again. Mo, thanks for coming back. David, thank you for reading. Look forward to connecting again real soon. Namaste.
Namaste, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
David.
you.
for reading.
Namaste. Thanks,
Thank you,
David.
David.
Thank
you
you.
all. See you tomorrow.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.